It was February 1998, and I was in Orlando, Florida, trying to answer the question, what's the secret? Why do so few companies execute world-class customer service, differentiate themselves? Started my first business back in 1993, a hair salon, and we wanted to be known as a world-class customer service company. Not a world-class hair salon, but a world-class experience benchmarked against any experience a woman might have that day, wherever she went. And we were pretty good when we first started, mostly because 50% of the staff was me and my wife. But as we started growing, knocking down walls, expanding, opening new locations, our customer experience started going backwards because not everyone thought and felt the same way me and my wife did. So we were struggling. So I started studying all the great companies, and one of my journeys took me to Disney Institute, where I got to go underground and behind the scenes for 4 days. And it was a wonderful learning experience. However, I learned more the day after the class concluded to what's the secret than I did the 4 days in class. So, woke up. We still have a few days left at Disney when class concluded, and I asked my wife Stacy what park she wanted to go today, and she said, we aren't going anywhere. She just spent the last 4 days running. At that time, we had 2 boys. Johnny was 6, Cal was 1. Today, we're blessed to have 3. So she was spent with the parks. She said, I'm going to the spa this morning, I'm going shopping this afternoon, and you are taking these monsters to the park. So she leaves. I looked at Johnny, the 6-year-old. I said, what park do you want to go to? MGM, Magic Kingdom, Epcot? He says, Dad, if it's all right with you, I just want to stay here at the hotel and swim all day. If you've ever been to Port Orleans, there's this dragon slide where you climb up the tail and slide out of the dragon's mouth, and that's all you want to do 50 times an hour. So I lucked out. I said, let's tell Mommy it's all 3 parks, and we just hang out here. So Johnny gets himself ready, get Cal, the 1-year-old, ready. Get his juice cups, his crackers, put the special swimsuit diaper on him, doesn't explode in the water. Put his hooded sweatshirt on. We go down the lobby, out through to the pool. Johnny sees the pool, he jumps in. I take Cal out of the stroller, take his hooded sweatshirt off, dip his big toe in the water. He starts crying, but pretty soon I get him acclimated and splashing, and he's having a good time. Well, that's when Johnny swims over to us. He says, Daddy, my favorite color is yellow. It's our code word. He has to go potty. See, I don't want to be in a nice restaurant, shopping, whatever it may be, and my kids say, Dad, I got to go pee, so we have code words. You probably know what it means if he says my favorite color is brown. In this case, it says my favorite color is yellow. I'm like, Johnny, couldn't you have done this 10 minutes ago? I just got Cal acclimated to the water. Now I got to take him out, dry him off, and go look for a public restroom. So instead, I told Johnny to do something very, very bad. I said, just go in the water. He says, you kidding? I said, no, we all do it. Right, Ronna? Nick, help me out here, right? So Johnny swims away. I keep on playing with Cal. A few moments later, I hear people screaming and laughing. I turn and look. Johnny climbs out of the pool, goes to the edge of the pool, pulls down his swim trunks, and he pees in the water. It's a true story. Let's hope for the next hour and a half, I'm a better consultant than I am parent. I swim over to him, I go, what are you doing? He said, but if you think about that, it's exactly what's wrong with customer service in all our businesses today. Right? Johnny did exactly what I told him to do. Rest assured that today, he and all 3 of my boys know the proper way to pee in the pool. But what's world-class to one isn't world-class to all. I don't know about anybody here, but you wouldn't want my world-class experience I was capable of delivering at 19, 21, or 25 because my life experiences didn't afford me the know-how of what world-class looks like. So, I'm going to ask you to take out your phones or your tablets because you're going to get the vote. And when you go to this site, tdg.click, that's all you got to type in. After you submit your email, you'll get every slide here. Because this presentation is as much for you guys, it's for you to bring back to your team. All right? You could actually leave. Right? You'll have the presentation. Hit these slots. So here's, if you go to tdg.click, And if you don't have internet access, just write it down and get it later, because you'll get every slide. You're going to have to answer this question, and you'll see how your answers compare to your peers. If you're going to open up or build a world-class customer service company in the stone industry or a hot dog stand on a street, what is more important? A, the training and culture you bring new employees into, or B, the hiring of new employees. Now, before you select, I'll tell you, the obvious answer is both. Right? You can't have one without the other. But in this case, I'm going to force you to give 1 extra percent to one of those. Everyone getting on okay? It might be slow. All right, so you can do it. You can do it later. But just by a show of hands. So you enter your information, you select, you'll see how your answer compares to the rest of the groups. And then immediately in your inbox, you will have a link to every slide. But still pay attention. Okay, by a show of hands, you got to vote. How many people go with A, training and culture? Raise your hand. Okay, how many people go with B, hiring of new employees? All right, there is no wrong answer, unless you've heard me before. But I'm going to go with A. Now, don't get mad at me if you pick B. I absolutely believe the hiring is critical, and that doesn't mean we start compromising reactive hiring B and C players. But do we really think Disney found 50,000 cast members born to serve? There's not 5,000. There might not be 500 human beings alive that were born to serve. But here's what Disney says, and I want you to write this quote down, but replace it, Disney, with the name of your business. I love this quote. They say, we don't put our people in Disney, we put Disney in our people. Love that. That's what you have to do. That's what world-class customer service companies do through their orientation and training. Another thing I want you to do is I want you to figure this out. If you were to hire me, my son, to handle any position in your showroom, template, whatever it is, work in your plant, how much training do you give new employees before they're allowed to interact with their customer? And everyone has a customer. Okay, it might be the person in the cube next to them. It might be a person in the field, whoever it might be. Now, that's not the answer I don't really care about as much, because it might be 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. It's the next answer I care about. Of the 48 hours, 400 hours, whatever it is, of training, how much of that is product knowledge, operational, all that, versus soft skill, rapport building, showing empathy, making a brilliant comeback when we drop the ball. And in typical businesses, it's 98% or more operational. The soft skill training is, hey, see the sign in the back room? We're customer first. Yeah, do that. And that's where the problem lies. So how good any company is here in any industry at customer service. And you saw a lot of retail and hospitality on my list. I work with a lot of people in your industry. Anybody from Canada in here? No? Calgary, by chance? Jamin built? Jamin? Aren't they the biggest home builder or one of the biggest home builders? They were. I think they still are. Yeah. All right. I was just out. They're a long-time client of mine. So I work with a lot of people in your industry as well. And they build, really nice high-end homes. But anyway, how good anyone is comes down to your service aptitude. From the CEO to the newest customer service rep, salesperson, warehouse person that is going to be starting next week. And the biggest disconnect paradigm shift is we think service aptitude's innate. common sense. And I promise you, and this is the whole foundation of what we teach, and this is the whole paradigm shift that every leader has to learn. No one has service aptitude. No one's born with it. Not anyone in here, nor did I. Service aptitude comes from three places. Your previous life experiences. So think about growing up. Most of us didn't stay at five-star resorts, fly first class, get a Mercedes-Benz when we turned 16, get a $125 haircut. Yet the first jobs we got, and every job after, we were expected to give world-class experience to world-class clients, customers, guests, tenants, patients, whatever they may be. The golden rule, treat others, treat customers the way you want to be treated, is the worst compass for your customer service. I don't want my customer-facing employees treating our customers, our clients, our guests the way they want to be treated. My son just graduated from college. Great kid, nice kid. But if you hired him, said, Johnny, I want you to treat our customers the way you want to be treated, you'd walk in and say, hey, dude, what's up? You'd have to buy him a belt, right? Because his pants are slipping a little too far down. Because that's where he's coming from right now. That's world class to him. But you give him 2 weeks of stuff we're going to talk about, and he, like anyone, will be a rock star. The second place service aptitude gets dictated is previous work experiences. And unless you have a direct pipeline to a former Disney, Ritz-Carlton, and Chick-fil-A employees, which none of us do, your existing and future generation employees have worked other places, which probably weren't world-class, and they were brainwashed not to trust the customer. And then they come work for you, and they treat your platinum VIP contractor like he's trying to get away with something. Neither of those things are the employee's fault, and we can't control those things. The only thing we can control is that third place, what we do with them after we hire them. So to wrap this up in a nice bow, it is not your employee's responsibility to have high service aptitude, it's yours, the company's, the organization, to give it to them. Don't trust anyone will have it. You train it. And it's not just in orientation, it's all the time, and I'll talk about that. What is a customer service revolution? Something we take really, really seriously. That's why Rockheads has been a part of it for the last 3 or 4 years. A radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform the way employees and customers are treated, which the shift produces a culture that permeates into people's personal lives at home and in the community, which in turn provides the business with higher sales, morale, brand loyalty, and my favorite, makes price irrelevant. That's what we do. We make price irrelevant. You want to see what making price irrelevant? I just took a picture of it. I don't know if anybody walked over. Did you see the line at Starbucks? Like, it was down the hall. Then you go to the food court over here. Nathan's, there wasn't anyone there. And then they sold coffee for $1.50 here at the food court. Not one person in line. That's making price irrelevant. Go to an Apple store on a Monday morning at 10 a.m. You can't get in. That's making price irrelevant. Making price irrelevant doesn't mean you can raise your prices 20% and not lose existing or potential customers. Here's what it does mean. Based on the experience your brand consistently delivers, and it can't just be dependent on me getting Bob, right? Anyone I come in contact with. Based on the experience your brand consistently delivers, your customers have no idea what your competition charges. Think about that. We're all price sensitive. If you've been like me, I've been that idiot that's driven 3 extra miles to save 50 cents on something, not realizing I just lost in that exchange. But we all, personally or professionally, deal with vendors or companies that we are so loyal to that if you ask me what, you got to use them. And you say, what do they charge? Sometimes I don't know. I can go look it up. I don't care because they save me money in the long term. My favorite quote is, discounting is the tax you pay for being average. That hurts. It should. There's one thing that will prove to me when I talk to a company if they're serious about customer service. When I ask them who's in charge of their company's customer experience. And I'm not talking about the person who's in charge of the phones. In charge of every part of the customer experience. Because if you think about any business in any industry, we all have the same key drivers. We have sales, and we have someone running sales, VP of sales, and we have marketing, and we have chief marketing officer, and we have finance, CFO, and they all have degrees, and COO, and that's great. Technology, some of us have that. Customer experience, no one. No one at all. The fastest growing position in the last 7 years in corporate America is the CXE, Customer Experience Executive, or Chief Experience Officer, or Chief Customer Officer. I don't care what you call them. And you don't have to go out tomorrow and promote or hire someone to that, but you got to crawl, walk, and run. Because if you don't have someone losing sleep at night over the entire customer experience, you're not serious. And it can't be the owner, because the owner is losing sleep at night over everything. But it has to be someone who's bugging, pounding at the table and say, we're about to roll out a new policy, new thing. Hold on, how will that affect the customer? And someone who's constantly looking at it from our customer's vantage point. And you have several. I mean, you have a half a dozen different customers. External, a half a dozen different customers, not to mention your internal customers. So as a result of the fastest growing position, we've created the Customer Experience Executive Academy. It's our fastest growing. We have a physical that people come for a year, every quarter. It's like the Harvard of customer experience. But as John alluded to this morning, we also have an online course that people could do in their pajamas. And, you know, he's going to, him and Lorenzo will share with you that he negotiated something just for the Rockhead members that is less than half the cost anyone else has ever gotten it. But just to show you, it's about the customer experience strategy plan. We have the 10 Commandments came from my second book that all world-class customer service companies do. I didn't make these up. Every world-class company does these. And there wasn't 8 4 years ago, and there won't be the 11th. The 10 are always the 10. Just as important as the 10 is the order of the 10. So every great company, and I'll give you some examples, has a customer service vision statement. That's your North Star. Different from your mission, different from your purpose, different from your core values. I'll get into that. Then the second commandment is the world-class internal culture. I call that the 30-foot high fence with barbed wire on it. We don't let anyone in. They have to like the service vision, want to be a part of it. Then we have non-negotiable standards that our employees don't pick and choose from, that separate us from everyone else. Secret service systems. Again, I'll explain this in a little bit in some examples, but how we personalize that experience. The training that everyone gets, so we do have consistency. And then the hardest part is number 6, the implementation and execution. Because as John referenced this morning, we could all have great notes. We can create manuals, but that doesn't mean it's being done. So how do we implement and hold people accountable? One of my favorites is zero risk. World-class companies are zero risk. It doesn't mean they'll never drop the ball. It means when they do, they pick it up. They drop the ball less than their competitors, but when they do, they actually anticipate dropping the ball, and you're more impressed with them had they not dropped the ball. I'll give you examples. Creating above and beyond culture, where people are competing by peer pressure to go above and beyond. Low-hanging fruit. Costs nothing to do. Measuring it. What gets measured gets repeated. And then finally, world-class leadership. So that's the 10 Commandments. I'm going to just give you a highlight on some of these, which I think you'll be able to take back and implement them right away. So how many people were here last year? It was the first time in over 20 years I missed an event. I was flying here, had a stop in Chicago. I ended up in the hospital. So my senior consultant, I had nothing. or whatever. They just told me I was being a wuss, but but my senior consultant came, Dave. How many people were here and saw him speak? Okay. So some of this will be a refresher, and I brought a lot of new stuff too. But I believe he talked about this. I want you to do this. I love asking audiences, how many people feel that you provide superior customer service? I want you to do this with your entire company when you have them all together. And whenever I do this, especially at one company, I have to count the hands that don't go up. It's only a few. Everyone's like, oh, we're the best. So they asked, Bain and Company asked 300 executives from 300 different companies, 300 different industries, this same question. Anyone want to take a guess at what percentage of these 300 leaders felt their companies delivered superior customer service? 1%. Nope. 80. 80% of the leaders felt their companies provided superior customer service. And that's exactly what I get with the hands raised. Usually it's over 90. Okay? What they didn't know is at the same time they were surveying 3,000 of their customers. Anybody want to take a guess at the percentage of their customers that felt they were receiving it? Lower. Lower. 8. 80% of them, and usually I could say 95% of you think that you provided 8% of the customers. Think about yourself as a consumer, what it took to get here. How many experiences do you have to have in your daily life before one of them is so shocking, like, oh my God, what's your name? Are you his boss? I want to tell you what he did for me. I want to bring that back to work and share it with my team. One out of every 10 experiences? No way. One out of every 20? Unless you win the lottery. So who's right here? Not because their customers are always right, but you and everyone in your company better realize you work in the customer perception business. And you can tell me all day, your employees can tell me all day how great their experience is, but what your customers are saying about you, the repeat business, the referrals, your net promoter score, whatever that KPI is, doesn't lie. So you can spend all day on this one question. And there's a lot of good answers. But I love what Henry Ford says here. If I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? The customers are the worst place to go to figure out how to build your 2023 customer experience, because they don't know. Think about Uber and Airbnb and Starbucks and Apple and all those Southwest, all the revolutionary companies that disrupted their industry. They didn't do focus groups. And Rockheads isn't about building faster horses. So it comes down to a lack of empathy. And there's 5 reasons. 1, as I said earlier, employees don't know what world-class looks like. A lot of our employees don't know it because most customer-facing employees aren't the same as the customer they're serving. Jamin built, right? Talk about $1 million houses. And their employees don't live in, something that's even 10% of that. And they don't understand why this woman is screaming at them. And they look at her and say, look at the house we're building for you. They don't understand. It's a disconnect to them. Employees are not your customers. Employees are not looking at it from the customer's vantage point. You compare yourself to the rest of your industry. Listen, I don't think I'm going to offend anybody here, but if you're the best in your industry, that's nothing to brag about. I mean, it really isn't. Just like mine, my first business, the hair salons. We've been open 26 years, all in Cleveland. And sometimes my hairdressers will say something so bad, they'll say, no one in Cleveland compares to us. That's so untrue. But let's just pretend for 5 seconds it was. If Rana came in today, gets her hair cut, she doesn't leave and go to our nearest competitor and compare. She doesn't need a hair salon or a spa for a few weeks to a month. But what she does do today is she leaves, she has to go to the dentist, she has to meet her friends for lunch, she goes shopping, wherever and then she's either saying, whoa, why can't they greet me like I was greeted? Or she's saying the opposite. Just like you. If your customers are buying from you that day, they're probably not buying from your competitors, but they're comparing you to other businesses. You're compared to Google. You're compared to Amazon. You're compared to Zappos. They've set our expectations so high now. Speed of time, ease of doing business are the two biggest factors. Everyone in here, we have no tolerance, no patience anymore. Because we can get an answer. Who won the '74 World Series? Google it, right? You can get any information. Give you an example of my own salon. Woman called. She has a huge bridal party. 18 months from now, wedding. Want to know if we could take, and that's a big part of our business. Calls, leaves a message for the bridal coordinator we have. Bridal coordinator calls her back the next day. She booked it somewhere else. It was dry. I mean, I know it's, what is it, Bridezilla, whatever they're called. But listen, she can't handle the anxiety of not having to be able to cross that off of her to-do list. It's a different world we live in today. Employees become numb. It's next. I got a keynote in Vegas. We work with a lot of healthcare systems. 201B. What's 201B? My mother. Room number in bed. Right? We all become numb. So we figured out the best way. Every client we work with, we do a day in the life of a customer to combat that, to bring compassion and empathy so we better understand the people we're serving, whether they be external or external. So last year, Dave showed you, I believe, a couple. I'm going to show you a different one. The maids. Anybody hear of the maids? They're all over. Canada, yeah. And so there are 4 women that come to your house. Now, typically, just so you understand their industry, their plight, these women aren't English speaking, probably don't make a heck of a lot of money. A lot of them are singles moms, and some, I don't know what percentage, have to work another job, right? But they're coming in to 500,000 plus homes. So can you see the chip on the shoulder they might have? While Princess here is going to play tennis, and then she has a spa appointment, right? And this person has to, clean your house and then get to her second job tonight. You can see the disconnect. So this is what every new employee has to watch. See how it changes the narrative of their job? Now that isn't an advertising thing. You need a hug? That isn't something you advertise. That's only internal training so they can see and have higher purpose. The currency for millennials is purpose. Millennials are awesome if you create a purpose in their job. They are not willing to trade hours for dollars. Absolutely not. Invisible service providers. Anyone want to take a guess what that means? Yes. What is it? People that are not directly dealing with the outside customer who don't think they have customers. HR, marketing, payroll, people in your plants, fabricators. You know it better than I do, but they have customers, and they have to understand this. So when I was in college, I worked at UPS, and I loaded trucks from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m., and then I went to school and did all that. So this was me. No, that's not really not me, but that was my job. And, it was a hard job. And everything's hard at 3 a.m. And so they get, you have to load 3 trucks, maybe 4, and then the drivers would come in at 8:30 and take the truck. Now you had to load them in order. So I tried to do a good job, but I will admit that some nights in the summer, maybe I went from the bars to work, right? Didn't get much sleep that night. So every package has an address and it has to go in a certain spot on that truck. If you ask me, who my customer was, I say, I don't have the package, so I don't, maybe the package is my customer. Now, at about 7:45, 15 minutes before the belts are done and the drivers are going to come up and take their trucks, you load your bulk. So you leave the bulk out, You load the truck, and then when every package is done, you start putting in the huge boxes that they typically have to go first so they can get it off there. So you pack the truck, and the truck is, you can barely close the door. But always happens, a couple stragglers would come down, get an envelope for 15 Main Street, and that goes up in the top right front. So I got a choice. I could do the right thing, take all these big boxes out, so I can get up there and put it where it is. Or I'm pretty good at Frisbee, right? I'm exhausted. I got to get to college. I'm tired. That's what I did. Now, back in the 80s, the mid-80s, these drivers were making $45,000 a year. That was millionaires to me. And they'd come in the next day, and they'd be cursing me out. And I'm like, screw you, pal. Like, go spend your money, right? Didn't get it. Then, so that's what it looks like before, and then that's what it kind of looked like, okay? So now I graduate from college, and I go driving. And I'm crushing it. I was a burner, they called me, right? The old drivers just wanted to work as long as they could. I ran to my stop. I just want to get home. I've been married, 2 years. I have a 6-month at home. I just want to get home. I'm skipping lunch and breaks. It's like 3:50, and I got 2 more deliveries left. So we didn't have cell phones, so I'd use the payphone and call my wife and say, I'll be back at the warehouse by 4:30. Cook dinner, make reservations. We'll have a good time. And then I go and grab my last package. And it was misloaded, and it was for someplace I had to be, or I was, this morning at 9. Now I got to drive across town against rush hour traffic, and I'm not getting home till 6:30 because my preloader didn't load my truck right. And it wasn't until that moment I realized what a shitty preloader I was. And UPS failed to teach me to teach preloaders who our customers were. I was an invisible service provider. My customer was the package car driver. And UPS needed to show me what a day in the life of a package car driver. Boy, would I have taken more time and care. So make sure your invisible service providers understand the part that they play in your customer experience. So we create a day in the life of a customer. The next thing we do is we create a customer service vision statement, which is a customer action statement. Now, the last thing any company needs is another statement, right? You got mission statements, you got purpose statements, you got core values, but there is a key difference. Your mission statement is simply who you want to be someday. Your purpose is why. Those are great, but they're not actionable. Your service vision does not get put on your website. It does not get advertised to anyone but your employees, and it's what they have to do every time they interact today with anyone, coworker, customer, every time, be it a 10-second transfer on the phone, face-to-face, or an hour-and-a-half meeting with someone. They have to do the customer action statement. And when they do it repeatedly, then you achieve the other two things. So I'll give you an example. The myth is, huge myth out there, that customer satisfaction and loyalty is about outcomes. If your tooth stops hurting, you'll be happy with the dentist. If your steak is cooked medium rare like you'll be happy with that restaurant. And if the product is made to specification and on time, the customer will be happy. And that is scientifically false. The outcome, the results have least to do with if someone's happy. It's the micro experiences. I expect any good dentist to get my tooth to stop hurting. That isn't what's going to make me come back. If they cook my steak medium rare, I'm not calling you up and saying, dude, you wouldn't believe. I expect that. But it's when I checked in, the receptionist had to spend 5 minutes finishing their conversation before they checked me, or they didn't tell me that the doctor was running 35 minutes late. It's all those micro experiences. And you got to remember, and the day in the life is good for us too, because just like it was for Jamin Built, why is this person overreacting to something. I was speaking to someone, I forget your name, but about the caulk. Yes, I'm sorry. Tell me how your clients get nuts over caulk. It's not the caulk. It's not the caulk, right? I've built a few houses, and like anyone, the moment we sign that thing, I lose my biggest client. My number one consultant is, moving, relocating, something. Oh my God. And then we get stressed out. And now it's 90 days over and, $100,000. When you're dealing with some stressful stuff, it's not the caulk. It's rational for customers to be irrational. That's why the day in the life helps us understand and realize it's not personal. And if you knew what was going on in their life, it might be a sick parent, it might be, problems with their kids. Who knows? It might be financial problems. It's not the caulk. Anybody been to Disney World? Walt Disney? All right, their customer service vision statement is to create one of the special memories in a person's life. They do a pretty good job. So I got to go underground in 1998. Magic Kingdom is a whole underground where customers punch in, punch out, take breaks. And as I'm touring it, I see Snow White on break, smoking a cigarette, complaining about some guy. She's like, that idiot called me. I'm like, oh my God, this is Snow White. A few moments later, she goes back inside. She freshens herself up. She punches back in, and she goes up these stairs, through these bushes, and she reappears on Magic Kingdom ground, and 14 little 5, 6, and 7-year-olds come charging at her. And she turns back in this beautiful angelic princess, signing their pads, posing for pictures. Downstairs on break in the parking lot, she was Susie Smith that was 22, that had a jerk for a boyfriend or a dwarf or whatever he was. My 6-year-old was there to see Snow White. That's exactly what she gave him. Why? Because Disney does such an incredible job of teaching their cast members the part that they play in that service vision. They do such an incredible job of teaching the shuttle bus drivers and housekeeping the part that they play in a service vision. That's what a strong service vision does. Work with Starbucks. Go to any Starbucks, they all wear the green apron. Ask them to turn over the inside of it. That's where their customer service vision and pillars is. Why is it on the inside? Because it's for them to see, not you. It's for them to be reminded of it 20 times a day. So when you create a service vision, you got to figure out what's your green apron that's constantly advertising it to your employees to make me pause before I return this email, before I answer the phone, before I have a sit-down meeting with a client, that what I have to give every time. So your customer service vision statement is what you have to do, and the pillars are how you do it. And so the pillars to me are just as important, if not more. The first pillar is the quality. And I don't mean the quality of your product, because I got to assume for most of your employees, they can't control that. Is that correct? They're not making it, right? So the quality is your expertise. How well you know them, how well you know the job, you're not over-promising, all that. Now, too many people just stick by this and say, we have the best product. The second part is how I make you feel, that I get to know you, that I empathize, that I understand how important this order is to your business, to your growth, to your family's well-being, to your sanity, right? I understand what it's like to rip out a kitchen. So that's the hospitality, treating you as a human being, building a relationship, and all that. So listen, I don't want my venti soy latte in 90 seconds exactly I ordered it by someone with an attitude. I also don't want someone that says, John, I have your venti soy latte. Have you been traveling? How's your 3 boys? But every time I take a sip, it's like Russian roulette. I want both. Both makes it price irrelevant. Every time. I deserve both. And then the final pillar is the above and beyond. That we could pay attention, that we have the autonomy to, know that our best client is on their honeymoon. And we're going to make sure that, we find out where they're staying and there's going to be something in their room. Or whatever that may look like. A lot of times it's really low-hanging fruit. So, to show you the difference, our mission statement is the world's leading authority on world-class customer experience. But if you're an admin, if you're a support person, if you're even a consultant, you can't do that every time when the phone rings, replying an email, or even in a presentation. That's where we want to be someday. Our purpose is our why, change the world by creating a customer service revolution. Great. It's still not actionable. Our service vision, every time we communicate with someone, is to provide a unique and memorable moment. We can do that. How? Expertise, world class, whatever, whenever. No one better be smarter than us at what we do. We only do one thing, customer service. World class. We better be returning your call, saying, certainly my pleasure, absolutely anticipating your needs. If we're not, why would you think we can come in and get your team too? And then whatever, whenever, we don't have office hours. You need to have a call on a Sunday, we'll have a call on a Sunday. We make shit happen. That's really what goes under that bucket. Okay. Nevers and always. When you deal with world-class customer service companies, there's certain things you know they would never do or always do. This is easy. I call this the customer bill of rights. Now, what you don't want is have anything ambiguous on there. Like you never want to say, always return customer calls, voicemails, emails promptly. That's open for personal interpretation. Your promptly could be 2 hours, yours could be 2 days, yours could be 2 weeks, right? So if you were to have something, always return calls same day or within 24, however you want, but now there's no personal interpretation. These are a lot of people's favorites. All right, never point for at a restaurant, let's say, and you get asked the question, what should you do? Anyone know? Show them. Open hand, show them. So if you have showrooms, you show them. Now, a lot of our business is done via email over the phone. You can point over the phone. You can get it off our website. That's Nick. He handles that, and he's in Vegas for the next couple of days. You could try him at the end of the week. Why are you making me do the work? I'll send you the link. Let me see if I can get that answer, and if I can, is it okay if Nick calls you back first thing Friday morning? I have 3 companies. No one in any of the 3 companies is allowed to use the word no. Never say no always. Always? I can't say no to that, but that's not what I want. You can't say yes to a lot of things your customers ask, right? I don't want you to. I don't want my employees to. What should we do? Focus on what you can do. Just don't say no. I don't care if you're asking me for, $50,000 to go play slots. What is it again? I'm sorry, I already forgot. Bob, I was going to ask you for money, right? I would love to. Unfortunately, but I do. I saw 3 banks and ATM machines on the way. Just focus on what you can do. My biggest pet peeve that's used by everyone in every business is no problem. No problem is a big problem for a couple reasons. One, no problem is negative words. We won't use any. But number 2 is if this gentleman asks me for more water, and I say no problem, that's implying to him that it's not inconvenient for me. And when we're serving others out about my convenience, it's about his. It's almost saying you're lucky I only have to go over there. If I had to go any further, we'd be having a big problem. What should you say? Certainly, my pleasure, absolutely, I'd be happy to. Consider it done, you're welcome. The Ritz-Carlton, Chick-fil-A will tell you they made a mistake. Don't give your employees one option. Certainly. It starts sounding like it. There's 6 to 10 suitable professional answers. Cold transfer, everyone knows what that is, versus a warm transfer. My next biggest pet peeve up there is overshare. We love to overshare for 2 reasons. And when I say we, our staff, us sometimes, we just talk too much. But I also, when you say, hey, I left you, or I have been up here for 45 minutes, he didn't tell me you were here, our receptionist. He doesn't tell anyone when their clients arrive, right? Don't have to throw anybody under the bus. If we need to take him out back and beat him later, that's fine, right? But just take care of it. Make it right with the customer. Don't overshare. Never say I don't know. Always say, yeah, let me find out. Otherwise, you're pointing again. Never show frustration publicly. What I want is a bunch of ducks. A duck is the most graceful, beautiful thing gliding across the water. No one sees or knows. It's paddling like hell underneath. So, have you ever been on a plane where the pilot gets on the intercom and says, "Holy cow, we almost crashed"? No! I told Jamin last week, I said, if you're giving, someone coming to look at their house, see how it's going, and the foundation falls in, it's supposed to, right? Just testing it. Panic after they leave, right? Never accept fine or okay. How is everything fine? Fine sucks. Let me get the hell out of here. Let me complain. Let me post on Yelp. Let me tell 10 potential customers why they shouldn't use you. If it's not a superlative, stop. We get more complaints, might be more than anybody in here. Not proud of it, but one of the reasons is we solicit it. If you're not, thrilled, blown away, what about it wasn't world class? I want it. If you're not getting enough complaints, you're doing something wrong. They're unhappy, trust me. Some. I'd much rather them tell me than post. Never make the customer wrong, just make it right. Never criticize team members, competitors, or make excuses. Own it, even if it's not your fault. And I know a lot of what happens in your industry isn't your fault, but you got to anticipate it. Some of my favorite always, use the customer's name 2 or more times. Make sure everyone in your staff is using their name. It is so easy to fire companies. Companies have no soul. They charge too much. They make too much. But the more people I know on your team, that's a different story. And he's getting married, and he just had a kid, and his son's going. It's hard to fire people. Deliver at least one secret service, something you know about them. I'll get into that in a few seconds. Say something positive every time. And I get pushback on this. They say, "You're teaching your employees to be unauthentic." No, I'm not. Teaching my employees to slow down and pay attention. Love those glasses. Love that shirt. Love that jacket. Love those shoes. If you can't find anything, tell them that you hope that they enjoy the unseasonably warm weather. Beat the greet. This used to say beat the customer, but United took it literally. No one, and again, I know you probably, unless you have a showroom, a lot of people aren't coming to your place of business, but you got a lot of employees walking in, you got vendors, you got potential employees here for interviews. I don't care if it's a UPS man, FedEx man, mailman. No one better say hi to you than you say hi to them. And I say you, your staff, your team. Me and my 3 boys, when we travel, we play beat the greet. No one's allowed to say hi to us. No one's allowed to thank us. So we'll go to a resort. It's okay to talk to strangers. So the game is, whoever says hi first gets a point. Now, if I say hi first, my other 3 boys can't get the point, but they have to say hi to him first, because anyone that says hi to us first loses 20. So I'll see, hey, mine, got him. But sometimes you'll walk off an elevator, turn a corner, bump it, and they'll say hi, and I'll be like, "Oh, shit." And they'll be like, "Sorry." Right? 15.5 means you come within 15 feet of anybody, you smile and nod. 5 feet, you say something. Even if I'm going by you. "Good morning, welcome back, nice to see you again." If people could tell who works for you because of the uniform, name tag, whatever that may be, and that's the only way, shame on you. You should be able to tell by the way they're acting. You could take all the uniforms off Disney employees, and you still know who is a Disney employee. Smile is part of the uniform. We send people home for being out of uniform. We'll go up to someone and say, "You don't seem happy." "I am." "You are?" "Yeah." "Tell your face." Your face don't know. And I love this one. There's not an interaction you can't use this on. Face to face, over the phone, via email. "Is there anything else I can do for you today, Bob?" Even though I got 3 people behind him, late for a meeting, 6 blinking lights, 72 emails, just by saying that one thing before we conclude makes Bob, that customer, feel like they're it. They're it. So you create a short list. I gave you way too many. But you create a short list. 8 nevers and always. And you got to teach your employees why. You can't just post them and say, "Don't do this, always do it." You got to teach them. Never overshare. Then you give them 3 examples of how they could overshare. And you're like, ooh, I am guilty of that. I have been guilty of that. The relationship economy. This is actually the title of my new book. It's coming out this summer. I just did a TED Talk on it called Meet as Strangers, Leave as Friends. So with the digital disruption that we're going through, people's skills have never been at an all-time low. There's no greater skill that can be taught and constantly worked at than the ability to build a rapport, an instant rapport with another person, whether it be a total stranger, acquaintance, customer, or employee. And we have to focus on the other person. Today's illiterate are the ones that can't read or write. It's the ones that have the inability to make a connection. Now, most of us were forced to, but we are dealing in the touchscreen age. And that's not even, the touchscreen age is not a generational thing. Right? We got grandparents on Facebook. And we are sucked into the screens. I'm not like bad, I love technology. But especially it is for the next generation of employees, we can't skip them. Don't have the inherent people skills that we were forced to have. So your training has to be to teach building rapport, because it isn't taught in school anymore. It's upon the businesses to teach this. And we got to teach it. Everyone we come in contact, you got to teach your kids this. Everyone you come in contact with has an invisible sign above their head, make me feel important. How many people agree with the next line that Stephen Covey said? People don't listen with the intent of understanding. They listen with the intent of replying. Agree with that? Scientists studied the human brain and found that it took the human brain a minimum of 0.6 seconds to formulate a response to something said to it. Minimum of 0.6 seconds. Then they studied hundreds, thousands of conversations and found the average gap between people talking was 0.2 seconds. 1/3 the time our brain will allow us. How are they doing that? I have my answer long before you. Right? I had it 3 sentences ago. I'm just waiting for you to come up for air. So what should we do when we talk to other people?
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Or listen. So listen, we are genetically coded to be about ourselves. It's my flight that was delayed. It's my son that got in trouble. It's my client that's driving me crazy. So we got to focus. And there's a technique on how you can be focused on the other person. And that's when the magic happens. So the greatest gift you can give anyone, our clients, our coworkers, our kids, our significant others, when we walk in the door, is the gift of our attention. So how many people in here feel that you're pretty good at building instant rapport with a total stranger? Raise your hand. Okay, I call BS. Here's why. Last night, I'm sure you had conversations with people that you'd never known, but that 15-minute conversation could have been about you. Here is, and listen, you wouldn't be in this room and you wouldn't be at the success that you've had. I'm sure you guys are pretty good, but we got to make sure we replicate this, teach it as a system. Here's how anyone proves it. Here's how my sons, if they come in contact with some, they prove to me that they built a rapport. They have to know 2 or more things of Ford. If you know 2 or more things of anyone's Ford, you not only built the relationship, you own the relationship, because to each of us, our own Ford is the most important thing. It's what gets us talking fast. It's our passion. It's powerful. Karen, what's the F stand for? Family. Are they married? Do they have kids? How old are their kids? Occupation. Who do they work for? What's their title? How long they've been doing it? Recreation. What do they like to do with their free time? Are they exercise? Do they coach their kids? The marathoners? Whatever it is. And dreams. What's on their bucket list? What's their dream vacation? You know 2 or more things of anyone's Ford. So this is a great technique. So when you're having conversations, you focus on other people's Ford and you learn. And the beauty is learning from other people. Another game we play when we travel. Who can find out the most Ford information? Me and my 3 boys are drilling the poor Uber driver. We are drilling them. But you wouldn't believe something magical happens when you start hitting on people and they start sharing, and no one's asking about, not how do you like Uber, how long you been driving for Uber, but where they from, what made them come here, all those things, and people just open up. Now, not every interaction allows for a natural Ford. So I have a pad in here, so anytime I have a conversation, I turn away and put Ford, put it on my CRM system. We have desk pads for anyone that works at in your office. Our call center that books appointments for all our salons. I don't want anyone forwarding someone that calls in to book an appointment. That'd be like a stalker checklist. But as you know, on the phones, you don't have to ask questions because people overshare. Someone calls up and says, I need to change my 4 o'clock haircut on Wednesday because my daughter's soccer team made it to districts. Bam! You catch that. So when she comes in on Thursday, the hostess that has never talked to her first said, how'd your daughter do? Have you bought a new car so excited because you've never seen it in that color, that model, until an hour later? That's all you see, right? Now, did 6 other people have the same idea as you did and go out and buy that color, that car? No, it's always been there. The difference is your mind is now primed to see what's always been there. That's what Ford tools do. They prime your mind to hear things that wouldn't have ever heard ordinarily. It's easy to miss something you're not looking for. So by having Ford tools, pads, it's on our desktop, in our CRM system, makes us hear and ask questions that we normally wouldn't. I just had a speaker at our Customer Service Revolution talk about this, and it's brilliant. He starts every conversation with, tell me something good. Because you can go up to someone and say, hey, how are you? And that's a dangerous question. They could take it south. Oh, well, the hemorrhoids are back. Just had to put my dog down. And if that's a client, that's hard to recover from, right? Help me here. So you don't allow, tell me something good. Tell me something good.
Get to head home and do some ice fishing.
Ice fishing, boom. Always customer intelligence there, right? Taking my son to college, picking my son up. He's in ice, bam, I got more for it. And it keeps me in a positive place, him in a happy place, and it doesn't let it go south. So we use Salesforce, and every CRM system we've ever worked with our clients is customizable. We have Salesforce, and we could put it in there. You could put it in there. The Fort, before I have a call with any client, Salesforce app pulls up. It says Recreation Coke. That's the drink, Coke, okay? People see that, and American Express, call them before they hang up. Is there anything else I can do for you today, Mr. DiJulius? No, thanks for asking. We just want to thank you for being a platinum member since 2007. And I hang up, I say, they must talk about me all the time. It's on their screen. So you go back, and we have that. We have 350,000 guests in our database, but our top 2,000 are silver, golden, and platinum. Anytime we exit, it pops up, we say it, we remind them, tell them we gave them their 5% off, whatever it is. Benson & Curley, financial firm in Toronto, Canada. They do the Ford allowance, the Secret Service allowance. I love this. They make all their account executives it's a burden. They make them spend $25 a month. Now, you don't have to do it a month. You could do it a quarter. I don't care. They have to spend $25 a month on their customers. So I'm there, and before I'm about to speak, their account executives had to get up and say how they spent $25 last month. You want to talk about seeing the moonwalking bear. He gets up, he says, listen, Mrs. Jones called in, found out that, her mother died. Sent flowers for $25. Someone else got up and said, I spent it on 5 different people, bought them each, not Starbucks, but Tim Horton cards. That's the big thing in Canada. But she had a reason, right? He just got promoted. She was dropping her daughter off at college. It's great for seeing the moonwalking bear. 3-2-1, another great example. Do it every week, same time, 8:30 on Wednesday mornings. You got to send out 3 emails. write 2 cards, make 1 phone call to an existing or past client you're currently not engaged with. Right? Dear Lorenzo, happened to be in Houston last week, or saw that your Astros got beat, in the playoffs this year, or whatever. You got to have a reason, right? Hope your new year is off to a great start. I just want to let you know you're one of the reasons why I love what I do. That's it. Not soliciting, not, hey, we got a new product, new speech, new book, new program. Just keep yourself. Now you want to keep track of it so you're not, sending an email or calling Lorenzo every week and he gets a little nervous. But you keep yourself in front of your customers in a non-soliciting way. But everyone has to do it. Even our accounts payable have to do it. They don't speak to our clients. They may send them an invoice, mail, mostly email, but they know where they're headquartered. Or they may know somebody. They'll say, hey, saw that your Bears won this weekend. Great job. Hope your winter in Chicago isn't as bad as it is here in Cleveland. They got to say something. And they also have to put a quote of we call it quote of the day. It's really quote of the month. Unless you're sending out invoices more than weekly. But if you're only sending invoices out monthly, you only have to come up with 12 quotes, right? This is what you and your team should be like. You should be able to go up to someone on your team, see they had, 6 meetings, 3 calls, and say, this is what they should be able to say about the people they interacted with today. That's knowing someone's forward and focusing on it. Something that pops up on my phone every morning is this quote, 6 a.m. Act as if today is a day you'll be remembered for how you treat others. Right? Share it. Post that in the back. So some other things. I want to be respectful on time. We talked about zero risk. I told you about zero risk earlier. Okay? Does not mean you'll never drop the ball. It means that you'll do it less, and when you do, your customers will be more loyal. This is zero risk. Love this on a cup. Our promise. Love your beverage or let us know. We'll always make it right. Your employees should do the least when a customer's upset. They need to know what to do instead of saying, it's not my job, got to speak to someone else. Don't make me explain, because every time I explain and call, I get more mad and I embellish and think of more things, and this happened before. Handle it. Least is listen, empathize and apologize, assess, solve, and thank. I'm going quick, and we pick on frontline employees and customer-facing employees. This study found out that 68% of the time, when a problem was brought to leadership, they made it worse. Oh, you don't understand. It's because, I don't care. I really don't care why it's late, why it was screwed up. Just take care of it. I don't need to understand what's going on behind it. That's oversharing. Just take care of it. Okay, I have a thing. If it gets to me, it's free. In any of my businesses, if it gets to me, it's free. If someone in my salons, the DiJulius group, has to, track me down, it's not hard. My cell phone is posted everywhere. On the website, on the windows, mirrors in our salon. I have nothing to do with the salons anymore. Still own them, nothing to do, but my cell phone's there. But my managers also know if it gets to me, I'm not arguing with the customer. No one here wants to call up the general manager, the owner, the CEO. It's the last thing we have to do with our time. And if we're doing it, we're pretty pissed. And I've also told 20 people or posted about it. So my managers and my employees know they better handle it. Take care of it. Because whatever I give the customers coming out of their quarterly bonus. So years ago, this is like 20 years ago, someone called me up and we got hair color on their suit. I said, well, we'll take care of it. We'll send it to the dry cleaner. Can't. Tried. Can't. I said, okay, can we replace the suit? They don't sell it anymore. Can I send you a check? She said, it's $250. Can I send you a check? She said, you don't want to know how old it is? No. You don't want to see it? No. Hung up, looked up her history, saw that she been coming for a few years. She comes about 7 times a year, never referred to anyone. Decent client. Sent her a check, also sent her a $50 gift or spa gift certificate for a massage or a facial. A year later, I tell the story, and someone said, did you retain her as a client? I said, that's a good question. Went and looked her up. She came 7 more times in the following year, which I was like, yes, we retain. And then I clicked on referral. She referred 18 new customers. For $250, what advertising can you spend to get 18 new customers? I tell my employees to get color on everyone's clothes, right? Opportunity to be a hero. We waited in line for 45 minutes for this ride at Disney. We finally get up there, cast member stops my son, measures and says he's not tall enough. My son starts crying. At first you make me pee in the pool. Now I can't go on this ride. Cast member, kid had to be 23, 22. Bends down and goes, what's your name? Johnny. And he gives him this card. And it said, the next time you come to Disney, you'll probably be tall enough. And it's basically a cut card, right? Present this to one of us. How cool is that? Here's what I would do with my service aptitude at 22. Mom, Dad, get your sniveling, whiny kid out of my face. Not my fault he's not tall enough. It's not my fault you somehow missed the 5 signs on the way up here about how tall he was supposed to be. I get tired of this. This happens to me 5 times an hour. It's not my fault. But here's what Disney gets better than I ever got, better than most people get. While it's not our fault, it's still our problem. Because Dad, Mom, and Junior are going to leave there remembering the long lines, the crowds, the heat. They spent $4,000, and they couldn't get half the rides. Instead, this thing's hanging from my refrigerator. My son would say every day, can we go back? And I'd measure him and say, not yet. But you got to think about the stuff that isn't your fault, but is your problem. Because we can get into a pissing match and draw a line, and I'll show you. You know, don't win the argument, but lose the customer. So, like I said, I don't go to I'm not involved in the salon business, but I go in there and get a haircut, and occasionally I get a massage. So this is years ago. I go and open the locker, Jesus, and in there is a negative Q. I hate negative Qs. It says, we in the locker, spa locker, we are not responsible for lost or stolen or left behind. What is that? Like, it pissed me off. So I go ask the spa manager that works for me, why? Oh, because John, you don't understand. Please explain it to me. So so we have a philosophy. Everything is our problem. Everything. May not be our fault, but everything's our problem. I want you to adopt this because you'll see how creative you get in anticipating problem solving. So what's the problem here? Women, mostly women, that is a problem. I didn't say that. The views of, I'm sure it happens with men, but they keep their cell phone or their jewelry, and they get a robe, and then they put the stuff in their pockets, and then they get their facial massage, pedicure, and then sometimes they'll forget. And we don't catch it in the robes when we wash them, and now we have a problem. So, great. Put a sign up there that, is going to punish them. Here's the thing. If someone calls me up and says, we washed your iPhone, I'm getting you a new iPhone. So we don't need to threaten and punish. So they changed the sign and said, please remember to check your, But that didn't fix the problem. People still did that. So everything is our problem. So we had to figure out how to solve this. Anyone want to take a guess at what we did?
Took out the pockets.
Took the pocket. We ordered pocketless robes, which were actually cheaper, right? Problem solved. But if we didn't own everything was our problem, I mean, we can get a say, there's a sign. What are you, an idiot? You can get in that pissing match. But guess what? She's not coming back. So everything is your problem, even though it's not your fault. Measure your company's get experience. What gets measured, gets managed, gets repeated. I love. So I've been, as you guys have been taking taxi and taking Uber. How many people feel, and I've never asked an audience this, but I was thinking about today on my ride here. How many people feel Uber is besides the app, because the app's amazing, they're friendlier drivers? Raise your hand, or why do you think? The rating, right? Because I got a cab ride here. They don't have to be nice. You'll never get that cab driver again, right? What? It's not that you'll ever get the Uber, but I can score him, and if it goes under a certain percentage, he can't do Uber LX or he can't do certain rides. I love that. And Nick's introducing something that will give your company the ability to have. But do you know that Uber rates you? It's crazy. You go look it up, and I see that I start kissing the ass of the Uber driver. Oh, that's okay. I'll walk from here. You missed an exit. All right, bye, right? I want that type of pressure on your employees. Okay? A lot of customer satisfaction is like from last quarter, by the time we get the surveys in or this, and I come to you and say, hey, fourth quarter of last year, your NPS, your whatever it is. And that's why I love the instant, where if I know you're grading me on my today, I'm not letting you leave. I'm not accepting fine or okay. But if I feel like this is something that is going to come back to haunt me or help me in 3 months, because that's the time, the data, well, then I could be like, screw him, I'll make it up in the next 3, right? But again, if there's an instant thing. Now, there's something that I have heard from like the last 5 CEOs I work with as a consulting client. They've literally said this exact same line to me. If you can help us improve, now what I'm improving, attrition, retention, it's all different depending on what company. If you can help us improve just by 1%, that will be millions of dollars to our, and some of them said to our top line, some of them said to our bottom line. But they all said the same thing. I said, there's a really easy fix for this. Whatever that one thing is, you have to make it where alarms go off when that one thing isn't done, okay? Anyone have kids where you've had to watch the movie Monsters, Inc.? All right, this is what I show them. That's what it has to be in your business. So I have a mortgage company and that we work with, and the CEO, president said, John, I'm trying to remember the term, the settlement date. When, on the first or second call, when they take the application, they have to give out the settlement date. If you do nothing else but get us to consistently, it'll be millions of, he knew the math to the point. And so I made it real easy, right? Automated that if they didn't give the settlement date and it wasn't put in the computer, that happened. The president, the chairman, the supervisor, and the account executive, all phone went off, right? And now he has to answer to him, who has to answer to the president and chairman, and that stuff went away. Now, you can't have 5 one things. You got to have one thing. But you make it that bells and sirens go off, and no one wants to address it. All right, final thing I want to share with you. Last chapter of the book, Live an Extraordinary Life. I want to live an extraordinary life so countless others do as well. So here's what I found. People that do. First thing is incredible perseverance. I'm sure many of you can share similar stories. Let's see how good you are with my trivia. Who am I talking about? He got fired from his first job as newspaper editor for a lack of ideas and proceeded to go bankrupt several times. Don't know? Who? Walt Disney, good one. This is an easy one. Got cut from his high school basketball team.
Michael Jordan.
How's that coach feel today? This is an easy one. Adopted at birth. Dropped out of college. Started a company in his garage. Became a billion-dollar organization. Got fired from the company. Returned to it. Created the hottest technology gadgets ever. Steve Jobs. This is easy. Grew up in a dysfunctionally poverty-stricken home. Was physically abused. He has become one of the wealthiest and most influential women in the world. Oprah. This one's tougher. The next 2 are tougher. Grew up poor in the projects of Brooklyn, New York, forced to quit his job over a conflict of the vision of where the owners were taking the business where he thought they should. He quits. Years later, he purchased that same company, turned a commodity product into daily necessity. Today, one of the most recognizable brands in the world. Howard Schultz, Starbucks. Last one. Age 6, father left mother and 6 kids. Went from upper middle class to welfare overnight. Labeled in grade school ADD and LD. Requested to repeat every grade from 1st through 12th. Suspended in high school. Not accept the high school which his older brothers attended. Graduated dead last. Flunked out of college. No guesses? See, you've been listening to this whole time? See? If you come to my office, this is hanging, my grade school transcript. These are my average grades. 1st through 8th, I peaked in 4th grade with a D+ average. And this is what's written about me on every report card. It says, John was placed in 7th grade at parental insistence. It was strongly encouraged that he repeat the 6th grade. With the person who keeps saying it cannot be done, stop interrupting, I start doing it. So the reason why I share my past with you is it won't be too difficult to find people smarter, higher degrees, inherent wealth, but you won't find too many have the passion for what they do that I have, and I'm just living proof that passion overcompensates a lot of deficiencies. I don't think you'd be sitting here and where you are if you weren't passionate. But you got to remember, you got to bring that. Don't motivate anyone on your staff. Just motivate yourself. It is a 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365, days a year, just to motivate John Robert DiJulius III. But when I do, I have less morale issues. I got people willing to walk through a fire for me. But when I don't, and I come with my travel and, the BS, I start getting morale issues. And, so I just got to, you don't have to motivate anybody else. Motivate yourself. Bring your A game. And sometimes we have to be Academy Award winners to do that. Because we always don't have our A game, but we got to find a way to bring it. The second thing, I love these 2 words. 2 words I'd love to get tattooed on my forehead if it wouldn't look so silly. Right? Give more. To every relationship you have, to the company, to your employees, to your coworkers, to your spouse, to your neighbor, right? We live in a very cynical society today. The deal is, our agreement says that you're going to do A, B, and C, and I have to do X, Y, and Z. But too often we wait. We make sure the other person does what they say. What I try to teach myself, my staff, my 3 boys, is do X, Y, and Z first and throw in W, even though W wasn't part of it and they weren't expecting it. Don't wait, don't keep score, and don't have a good memory. Don't remember 3 years ago when someone didn't do what they promised. Don't let that spoil it, because giving more is one of the most selfish things you can do. Yeah, selfish, because the way it comes back to you. That means if you borrow someone's pickup truck to move furniture, you give that person the pickup truck back cleaner and with more gas than how they gave it to you. I have reverse paranoia. I feel everyone is out to help me. And I always say about giving more, wish I can get it tattooed. And I spoke at Anytime Fitness annual conference. I came back the next year, and a girl comes up and shows me her wrist, and she did get it tattooed. So I'm not responsible for any stupid decisions you make in Vegas. All right, here's the last thing. And we'll bring Lorenzo back up. So you saw my past, and people ask me all the time how I got through that, and I got a gift given to me. I know everyone in this room's gotten it, and you're still getting it, or you wouldn't be here today. But I forgot about this gift and the power of it until something happened with my son about, 16 years ago. So my oldest son, Johnny, he goes out for wrestling when he was 6, and he makes a team, and he's, halfway decent, and, he wanted to, because we're from Ohio, he's like, Dad, someday I'm going to wrestle for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm like, sure you will. So he turns 7, 8, 9, and he starts winning. So we start taking him to different places in Ohio. We're from Cleveland. We go to Toledo, Cincinnati, Columbus. By the time he's 10, I can't find anyone in Ohio that can beat him at his age or weight. So I'm feeling pretty good. So someone says, if you think your kid's good, take him to Tulsa, Oklahoma, the best youth wrestling tournament there is. So to satisfy Dad's ego, we get on a plane, we fly across the country, and we find 3,000 wrestlers. We're used to like 25, right? His first match, he has a kid by the name of Ryan Brooks from Colorado. And Ryan Brooks has this warm-up suit on. It says 3-time Colorado State champ, 2-time Tulsa National champ. Thinking, Jesus, he's 10, right? So right before they go out there, Mr. Brooks looks at me. He says, your kid any good? I said, yeah, he's pretty good. I said, how about your kid? He goes, my kid is the best wrestler in the entire state of Colorado. I think to myself, what kind of idiot says that, right? They're 10. So naturally, I respond with, oh, yeah, well, my kid's the best wrestler in the entire state of Ohio. So they go out there, and the referee has to stop the match 5 different times. Why? Because my son, Johnny, is crying so bad. Up to this point, my son never loses, rarely loses. You know, if he loses, it's like 1-0, 2-1. This day, November 2002, Ryan Brooks beats Johnny 15-0. My therapist helps me say that. 15-0. After the match, my son's bawling in my arms. Mr. Brooks walks by and goes, guess they don't make them that tough in Ohio. Oh, he shouldn't have said that. I said, you know what? And I stop and think, my son just got his ass kicked. I don't need to, so I let it go. So it's double elimination. So like an hour and a half later, he has to go back out there and wrestle again. And this time he gets pinned in about 6 seconds. So we're flying home, back to Ohio, back to Cleveland. I feel like the worst dad that ever lived. Why? You know, why couldn't I leave well enough alone back in Cleveland, where his record, his self-esteem, his love for wrestling were all intact? So I start doing what any good parent would do in this situation. I start lying to my kid. I said, Johnny, I knew you were going to lose. He goes, you did? Yes, because in life, I start making this crap up, right? That's what I do for a living. So halfway through the best speech I'm ever giving my son in a wrestling, he says, Dad, do I ever have to come back to Tulsa again? I said, no. I said, you can't. He said, what do you mean I can't? I said, well, you could, but you can't. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, Johnny, you'd have to go back to Cleveland, back to Ohio, and beat everyone worse you've ever beaten them for the next 12 months. I could do that. I said, well, that's not it. I go, you got to go to practice every night they have it, whether it's 85 degrees out or you're not feeling well. Give them the whole showing up speech. He says, I could do it. I said, if your coach says do 50 takedowns, you got to do 55. If your coach says do 100 push-ups, you got to do 110. Because we got to be willing to do what others aren't, or we'll never close gaps. And finally, I'm going to give you a workout, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups. I'm not going to babysit you. But I guarantee if you do everything I just described, I'll bring you back to Tulsa next November, and it'll be a different story. Well, he feels better. I feel better. I figure I never got to worry about this again. My son takes everything I say literally. He does 500 push-ups. He does 500 pull-ups. He beats everyone worse he's ever beaten them. I'm traveling. I call up to speak to my wife in the morning. He answers, hello. I said, why aren't you in school? Oh, Dad, I've been throwing up all night. I said, okay, feel better. I'll call you up tonight. I call him up that night. My wife answers. I said, where's Johnny? She goes, he's at wrestling. I said, why would you let him go? She goes, listen, we're going to talk when you get home. I'm like, yes. Next November comes, he says, Dad, we going? I said, going where? To Tulsa. I'm like, do you want to? He goes, yes. I had to take him. He did everything I said. I didn't think he would, but I couldn't get out of this. But I knew it was probably going to happen, right? The exact same thing as the year before, which is going to crush him and most of all his faith in what I tell him. But we go, and to my shock, the first match he wins, and I'm hugging strangers, right? People are like, dude, get off me, right? But I'm off the hook. We can go home now. I'm not a liar. Then he wins the second match. I'm like, yes, Frosty had a game. He ends up winning the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth match. It puts him in the Tulsa finals. Guess who he gets? It's the last 10 seconds. That's Johnny on the left. He ends up pinning Ryan on the right. And you see Dad jump up and down like an idiot right there. This is Mr. Brooks. I wish I could tell you what I said to him right here, but I can't. Maybe at the bar later, right? So here it is. The gift I told you about. After the match, I'm calling everyone I know. I'm calling people I haven't spoke to in 35 years. Who is this? DiJulius, I sat next to you in grade school. It doesn't matter. My kid's a national champ. Right? So I go to him, I said, Johnny, how did you win this? He says, what do you mean? I said, you kidding me? He was a 4-time this, 3-time that. He beat you 15-0 last year. You're the Tulsa national champ. And he looks at me and says, because you told me I could. And at that moment, I was no longer proud. I realized that a year earlier I gave the best and the worst motivational speech in my life. The best because it worked, the worst because I didn't believe one word of it. I gave it to him to make myself feel better and less guilty for putting him in that situation than I did thinking that he could actually achieve it. And it really bothered me. It really bothered me that I invited my kid to greatness on insincere terms. The older we get, the more cynical we become. And if any of you would have told me a year earlier, your kid's going to be a national champ someday, I would have said, oh yeah? In what sport? Because I know it ain't going to be wrestling. But an 11-year-old says, well, my dad says all I got to do is this, 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 and this. And my dad wouldn't lie to me, and he trusted it, and it paid off. And it just reminded me of what I got growing up, right? You saw my past. I would have teachers, principals calling, right? First couple employers. Maybe the police stopped over, I'm not sure. But my mom always stuck up for me. And no one thought she was being tough enough on me. But she'd always say these 4 words to me and about me every day. We've all heard them. The 4 most powerful words we could hear and say. I believe in you. You're going to make it. Think about that. And from that day on, I was like, man, how many people do I give that to? You know, people I work for, people that work for me, you know, my family. And I've just made it a commitment. Because the power is believing in people when it's not easy. Got to remember, I was a kid that was requested to repeat every grade. I'm the parent that told his kid to pee in the pool. I'm the parent that flew his kid across the country to get his brains kicked in. My first business, salons, 26 years ago, we almost went out of business. We had no idea what we were doing. My first book got turned down by over 200 publishers before one publisher took the chance. Now, on the flip side, we run a pretty good salon operation. All 3 of my books have made the bestseller customer service list. But better than all that, I'm the father of a national champ, which is really, really cool. Thank you. Number 2 up there is what we affectionately known as Crying Ryan. No, that's not nice. So I said to Johnny after, what are you going to do now? He says, I'm going to win it again next year. I go, I know you will. I believe in you. I didn't, he did. He goes off to high school and wins 3 state championships and gets a full ride scholarship to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Where in 2015, he was on ESPN for winning a national championship. And today, he is currently training for the 2020 Olympics. So, yeah. Sometimes you have to believe in the belief others have in you before your belief kicks in. So I challenge you to do something in the next hour. Text someone on your team, back home in your family, who needs to hear that you believe in them. Just do that. Just say, I don't care what's going on. If you just yelled at them this morning, whatever, they just lost a client, they blew something, just say, hey, I believe in you. You're going to make it. All right. I love to brag about the companies that we work with, and equally love adding this group to our list. I want to thank Nick, John, Lorenzo, and their team for believing in me, and the DiJulius Group that allow us to come and partner with them.